Welcome. This is the 9th program of MBA Coal Management course. I'm your host Hira Imtiaz, and with me the subject expert today is Mr. Said Chaudhary. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Our today's topic is about leadership. Expert, could you please introduce students with today's topic?
Sure. Today's topic is leadership. But before introducing the topic, let us first have a review of the last program.
Organizational structure, designing organizational structure, determinant of structure, factors affecting organizational structure, functional, divisional, product and market structure, job design and job characteristics, global metrics and hybrid structure, vertical and flat structure.
And now a brief overview of today's topic.
Overview: leadership, the process, leadership across cultures, sources of leadership, empowerment, leadership models.
What is the process of leadership?
Leadership, the process. Leadership is the process where a person exerts influence over others and inspires, motivates, and directs their activities to achieve goals. Effective leadership increases the firm's ability to meet new challenges. Leader, the person exerting the influence. Personal leadership style, the ways leaders choose to influence others. Some leaders delegate and support subordinates, others are very authoritarian. Managers at all levels have their own leadership styles.
Leadership has its own styles and leaders have their own traits. Some may be aloof and even a bit arrogant. Others are compassionate and sociable, but they all have sight, they all have vision, they can inspire their followers and they can take their business from one level to the other, from success to success, and thus they can achieve organizational objectives while achieving the personal objectives of their followers. So that makes a leader popular and that actually makes him a leader. Leadership is a vast topic, and you might have noted that there are all kinds of leaders and they may vary in their personalities, they may vary in their expressions and communication, but they are all leaders. Leaders are far-seeing, courageous and inspiring. They raise the capabilities of their followers and thus they raise the ability of the business to achieve success. They create competence and they can make their intentions practical and they can bring the people to do things which they want them to do. But leadership varies from culture to culture, and although business is now a global affair, a global activity, but still cultures matter and various cultures have different concepts of leadership and they create leadership in their own perspective. Let us see what are the cultural perspectives of leadership.
Leadership across cultures. Leadership styles may vary over different cultures. European managers tend to be more people-oriented than American or Japanese managers. Japanese culture is very collective-oriented, while American focuses more on profitability. Time horizons also are affected by cultures. US firms often focus on short-run efforts, while Japanese firms take a longer-term outlook.
As we can see, there are different behaviors of culturally accepted leaders. We may not go for naming names and countries, but still we can note that some people are more worker oriented as a whole, and some are more task oriented, and some are short of time, always running for time, and some people take it easy and they are not worried about time. So, there are different attitudes towards people and towards work, towards business, towards success or failure, towards motivating people, and towards leading them or consulting them or participating. Some are not very participative, others have an attitude of directing people, and all these attitudes come from various cultures. So, when we are talking of leadership, we must keep in view different cultures and their attitudes to various aspects of business and leadership in business. Now, these are various styles of leadership. Whence these styles and how these styles come? They have not only a cultural background, but if we analyze, we will find that all the leaders who lead people, who have power over people, they have certain sources of power. Now, what are these sources of power?
Sources of power: reward power, coercive power, referent power, expert power, legitimate power. And these all enable managers to be leaders and influence subordinates to achieve goals.
If we look at these sources carefully, we will find that these sources are different and they have their different origins. Legitimate power is due to the legitimate position of the manager or even a leader among the workers who may be from among them, but he has a higher position. Coercive power is the power to punish or power to reprimand, power to warn, and power to order redoing of things in industry, making corrections, and also punishing people for wrongdoings. And power to reward is to benefit people, to praise them, and thus to inspire them. Then there is expert power, which means that a person achieves powers through his experience and training and higher knowledge of the techniques, and he is respected because of that. And this is a well-known fact that managers who are technically more capable, they are respected by the workers and they have a power over them, and this is the expert power. Referent power is power due to certain traits which are admired by the people, and so they develop a respect for the person who has those traits, and he has his own personal attitudes which are liked by people, and sometimes this liking is so great that the person becomes a leader. So, these are the sources of power, and they give power to the leaders, and they can then make people do things which they want them to do, which means that they wield a great influence over the workers and can lead them. But leader's power is not the only power, and the leader is not the only person to lead and exert power over followers. Empowerment of workers has been found to be a leader in itself and a trait of a good leader, because when people are empowered, they can make their own decisions, they feel empowered, and thus they start leading, or they start owning the business, and thus they have a sense of participation also. Now, what is empowerment?
Empowerment. Process of giving workers at all levels authority to make decisions and the responsibility for their outcomes. Empowerment helps managers get workers involved in the decisions, increase worker commitment and motivation, to focus on the other issues. Effective managers usually empower substantial authority to workers.
The thing to note in empowerment is that this makes leaders of workers, and they feel that they can make their own decisions, and they can also have the responsibility for making those decisions. Now, the workers are enabled and they are trained, and their initiative also rises when they are empowered. Now, finances can be had, technologies can change, the competitors can copy, but there is no match for a highly motivated, coached and well-trained manpower who are empowered and who have been trained to take their own decisions. That is the most precious thing about empowerment. Now, we still have leaders and their styles, and not only that, we have models of leadership also.
Leadership models. Trait model sought to identify personal characteristics responsible for effective leadership. Research shows that traits do appear to be connected to effective leadership. Many traits are the result of skills and knowledge. Not all effective leader possesses all these traits. Behavioral model identifies types of behavior. Consideration. Leaders show care towards worker. Employee-centered, initiating structure. Managers take steps to make sure work is done by assigning work, setting goals, etc., and job-oriented.
As we were talking about leadership styles and leadership traits, the leaders vary. Not every leader has all the traits. Some are adaptive, some have great initiative, some are futuristic, some are very accommodating, compassionate, some are affable, some have great communication skills, others have a bit of authoritarian attitude, but still they are loved by workers due to their expert power, and similarly some are achievement oriented, some inspire people more than others. So, there are a number of traits, some objective, some subjective, but they all vary, and some people have some traits more than others. So, these have developed into various models, of which one we were studying was trait model.